Laura is a traveler. She walks roads without names toward places she's never seen. She doesn't know exactly what she's looking for, only that she has to keep going. Laura began to understand something quiet and life-changing. That she didn't have to have it all figured out to be seen. That her worth wasn't tied to having the answers. That she could be lost and still matter. Still worth noticing. Still worth being witnessed to. That was new. That was everything. The strangers who know us aren't here to fix us. They aren't maps. They're mirrors. They show us pieces of ourselves we've forgotten. They remind us that we're still in motion. Still becoming. Laura learned to stop demanding clarity from every encounter. She started listening more closely to the quiet. The pauses. The moments between steps. And the watcher. Maybe it's not watching for who gets there fastest. Or who looks the most certain. Maybe it watches with the patience of something that knows. That getting lost is part of being found. Some days it feels like she's chasing something. Other days like she's trying to leave something behind. But always there's the watcher. A tiny eye in the sky. Silent, steady. Not guiding. Not judging. Just there. Always watching. She used to find it unsettling. That presence. But over time she began to accept it. Even find comfort in it. Because sometimes just knowing we're not alone can carry us farther than certainty ever could. Laura meets people along the way. Most pass by without a word. Some offer kindness. A few offer harm. But every so often she meets someone who seems to know her. Not her name. Not her past. But something deeper. The shape of her restlessness. The way her eyes search the horizon even when she's standing still. She met one of them on a mountain path. A stranger. Older. Quiet. They sat together without speaking for a long time. And when he finally spoke, he didn't ask her anything. He told her a story. It wasn't a story about her. But it felt like it was. It was about longing and getting lost and finding things you didn't know you needed. When he finished, he looked at her and said, "You already know what you're looking for. You're just afraid to name it." Then he stood, nodded once, and continued on his way. No goodbye. No explanation. But something changed in her that day. Not a revelation. Not yet. But a loosening. Like a door inside her had been unlatched. He kept walking. And the watcher watched. Laura has learned that not all guidance comes in words. Sometimes it's a gesture. A glance. A presence that doesn't push but doesn't leave either. The strangers who know us aren't always wise. They aren't always right. But they reflect something to us that we needed to see. They remind us we're not as lost as we think. Laura learned to trust those moments. She learned to sit with discomfort. To let the silence stretch. To stop running from the questions that didn't have easy answers. Because slowly, quietly, she's realized something. The search itself is sacred. It's not just about finding the destination. It's about who she becomes along the way. And the watcher. Maybe it's not watching for answers either. Perhaps it's just bearing witness. To the unfolding of a soul. To the quiet bravery of someone who keeps walking even when the road vanishes beneath their feet. We've all been Laura. At some point. Wandering. Thinking. Hoping someone, or something, will help us make sense of it all. We meet strangers. They leave fingerprints on our path. They challenge us. Confuse us. And when they do, something profound inside us recognizes it. The soul knows. Even when the mind resists. So we keep walking. But because we're becoming. The journey isn't about finding a final answer. It's about learning to trust the parts of ourselves that already know the way. And the watcher, sent from above, still sees us. Not as lost travelers. But as unfolding stories. Worthy of being witnessed. Laura enters a forgotten village, its buildings slouched with time. The streets are silent, overgrown with weeds and memory. She walks past doors that will never open again. Yet she feels watched, not in fear but in familiarity. An older woman sits on the steps of a crumbling house. She doesn't smile, nods at Laura like she's been expecting her. "You remind me of someone," the woman says. Laura almost responds, but the words don't come. Instead they sit. The silence stretches long, and in that silence, Laura feels something she can't name. She realizes it's okay not to be helpful, not to be strong, not to perform. That sometimes just showing up is enough. The woman doesn't offer advice. He sits with her, witnesses her. And it's enough. Laura doesn't stay long. It starts to rain while Laura walks along an empty stretch of road. Heavy, steady, soaking rain. She pulls her coat tight but doesn't run. A broken mirror leans against a tree. She sees herself, dripping, tired, eyes full of questions. And behind her, high above the clouds, the tiny eye remains. The watcher steady as ever. She wonders aloud, "What do you see in me?" The rain answers only with rhythm. But in her reflection she sees something unexpected. Not clarity, not strife, but courage. Not the kind that shouts. The kind that keeps walking. Laura reaches a wooden bridge swaying over a wide river. On the other side a boy is sitting alone. No older than 10. He's drawing spirals in the dirt with a stick. He crosses slowly. He looks up and asks, "Do you ever get scared you'll never find it?" He sits next to him. "All the time," she says. "But I'm learning that maybe it's not about finding something. Maybe it's about becoming someone while I search." He nods. Then hands her the stick. "Then you should draw something too." She draws a path. Not straight, winding. But it's hers. Laura finds a journal left on a bench carved into the side of a hill. Its pages are warped from weather, some torn, some smudged. But what's left behind are fragments. Half-thoughts, unfinished questions, ink trailing off mid-sentence. She reads, "I don't know who I am without the searching." And another, "Does the path shape us or do we shape the path?" She closes the journal slowly. Feels like it could have been hers. She realizes, maybe we all leave pieces of ourselves behind for others to find. Maybe that's enough. To let someone else know they're not alone. Night falls. Laura stops in a clearing ringed by stones from fires long since out. She sits alone, arms wrapped around her knees. For the first time she feels the ache of all she's not yet found. And just then someone sits down across from her. Another traveler, wordless, face barely visible in the dark. They don't speak. There's no fire between them. Only breath and presence. And it's warm enough. Sometimes what we need isn't light. It's company. A witness in the dark. She finds an old compass discarded on a forest path. The needle spins, never landing. He keeps it anyway. Not as a guide, but as a reminder. She's no longer trying to go somewhere right. She's learning to go deep. The watcher still follows. The sky still holds its silent gaze. And Laura, still unsure, begins to feel the strength in that. In not knowing. In walking anyway. Laura holds the broken compass in her hand. The needle spins slowly, endlessly. It doesn't point north anymore. Doesn't point anywhere. She smiles at that now. Because for so long she believed direction meant certainty. That forward had to be straight. That progress had to make sense. But life doesn't follow maps. And the heart doesn't obey instruments. She tucks the compass into her coat. Not to use it, but to remember. That sometimes what's broken is what frees us. That when our compass fails, we're forced to feel instead of follow. Days later, Laura comes to a fork in the road. No signs. No sounds. Just two paths vanishing into trees. He takes out the compass by habit. It still spins, stubbornly directionless. But this time she doesn't wait for it to stop. She closes her eyes. Listens. To the wind. To the way her breath moves. To what feels real. And she chooses. Not because it's right, but because it's hers. He walks forward. The compass rested silently at her side. Still broken. Still sacred. Later, by a river, Laura sits with her feet in the water. She holds the compass in one hand and speaks aloud as if to the watcher, or maybe to us. We all carry broken compasses. Ideas that once pointed the way. Beliefs we clung to. Certainties that cracked under the weight of living. And when they broke, we thought we were broken too. But maybe they were never meant to lead us. Maybe they were meant to teach us when to stop following and start listening. The broken compass doesn't leave her. It becomes part of her story. Not a flaw, but a chapter. She still doesn't know where she's going, but she knows herself better now. And that changes everything. Because even with a spinning compass, even on uncertain ground, she is still worth witnessing, still worth following, even if the only one following is herself. Laura reaches a small clearing where a young traveler waits. Eyes full of that familiar searching. They speak briefly, nothing profound. But Laura recognizes the ache, the need for something to hold on to. She reaches into her coat, pulls out the broken compass, still spinning, still lost, and she offers it to them. I carried this longer than I needed to, she says. It doesn't tell you where to go, but it might remind you that it's okay not to know. The traveler takes it gently, cradles it like something valuable, and suddenly Laura feels lighter. Some tools are meant to be passed on, not because they work, but because they once mattered. Laura keeps walking. No map, no compass, no watcher can she see. Just the steady rhythm of her footsteps. She begins to notice something new. The land feels different, not because it's changed, but because she has. She no longer scans the sky for signs. She listens inward. And now people start to notice her. Other travelers glance her way, pause a little longer, sit beside her in silence. And without realizing it, Laura has become the stranger she once met. The one who sits quietly beside someone who is lost, and says nothing, but feels like everything. We all carry a compass at some point, something that gives us the illusion of direction, until life breaks it, and we're left unsure, spinning, uncertain. But broken compasses don't mean broken people. They mean we're ready to navigate differently, more slowly, more honestly. And when we do, when we stop demanding answers and start trusting the questions, we begin to see that the journey itself has always been the point. Even the lost are worthy of being witnessed, especially the lost, because they're the ones becoming, the ones still open, the ones still brave enough to walk. And that's what the watcher has seen all along.
To feel the tender weight of that watchful gaze. But when it finds you, do not fear. It is not a force of judgment, but a gentle call to awaken your inner light. Let its presence remind you that every truth, once shared, becomes a guide, lifting the shadows and connecting us all in a journey of hope. Embrace it, and you will discover that even the most minor witness can reveal the vast beauty of our shared destiny.